Okay, eighth grade. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Um, I am working from home over the weekend, so if you notice my background looks a little different than the classroom, that is why. Um, so, what I want to do is I want to kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown on how to choose a quality reference photo. Okay, so for all your sketchbook assignments, you want to choose a reference photo because um, really it- it's hard for anybody, including myself, let alone somebody in eighth grade, to actually be able to draw something off of simply your imagination. Okay. There are some things and some different assignments that is completely okay. But for our sake, what we're trying to do is we're trying to improve our technical skills. That was one of our goals in the syllabus. So one of those big technical skills is be able to look at an image that could be in real life or in the reference photo, and to accurately render that image on a piece of paper using the elements of art and the principles of design. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you about this a little bit, just to kind of clear things up. A reference photo is, and some people may not be sure what that word means. A reference photo is just a photograph that you refer to while creating your artwork. Notice I said refer. So you don't have to necessarily draw this exactly how it looks in the photo. Sometimes we need to change things in order to make it work for our artwork. All right, now, most of the time, yes, we will be trying to create an accurate rendering of the image that we choose in our reference photo. Okay, so what I did was I typed in marine life, and this is just an example of what one of your sketchbook assignments could be. What I want to do is just talk to you about a couple things. The first thing that you would want is you want to make sure that the image is clear, okay, which usually means that the resolution is high in the picture. Resolution basically means, just a quick breakdown, and I'm not an expert on this, but resolution is basically the amount of pixels on your photograph. It's kind of like if you have a 720p TV at home, um, and then now they have like the 1080p. Okay, that's kind of like the amount of pixels. So that all kind of goes together. So you want to make sure your picture is very clear. All right. So as I'm scrolling down, I'm going to try to choose, and I'll choose pictures based on what I'm trying to explain for this um, particular video. Okay, so if I'm choosing marine life, just a really quick little kind of silly example. Over here on the right, this is not a good reference photo. Okay, so let's just say I want to draw a seahorse, or I want to draw an octopus. Okay, this is a very bad reference. It's a very cool picture, okay? But somebody created this and somebody designed this. So what that means is if we design something off of somebody else's design, that would be considered copyright. Okay, so we want to try to avoid that. Um, Technically, all of these photographs are artwork. So a lot of times people ask me, Mr. Petter, how am I allowed to use this when an artist took the picture? Okay, that's a good question. So technically, legally speaking, we would actually need to reach out to this photographer, and we would need to ask him for permission to use this in our piece of artwork. Okay. Now, because we are using all of these images for educational purposes, right? We're learning how to render. We're not gonna take our drawings, and we're not gonna sell them afterwards for a profit. That is where basically the photographer would get upset, because if it was something that you were doing to sell, the photographer might actually ask you for a small percentage of your commission, which is not the case for us right now, especially since it's all for educational purposes. Now, um, because, like I said, this is for education, we are able to use these without any permission. So, what I want to do is I want to show you the first one. The reason why we don't want to use this is because this is somebody else's design. Okay, this is not what an octopus actually looks like. Okay, The next thing is if I'm going to choose marine life for my sketch, I obviously want to get the subject, and I want to get the theme accurately put into my assignment. So I want to find an image of something I find interesting, that is clear. Um, we have good lights and good darks. So we have light reflections and we have shadows, but we're also not too far away. So if I click this picture here, because I really like these fish, well, the problem is sometimes the fish are so far away that we can't really get all that detail, right? So if I were to draw a fish, I would want to make sure that I get all the scales and everything. I want to make sure that there's a lot of lights. So if you think of a value scale from 1 to 10, I want to make sure there's a lot of light values and a lot of dark values as well. Here's another example. Okay. If I want to draw this marine life animal right here, okay, it's just a little too far away. The photograph and the camera actually put their focus on these spiky, um, I don't know what they are, if that's like a fungus or an actual type of fish. Um, so I wouldn't want to choose that as my reference either. So let's just kind of keep looking through here. This is a good picture. Okay, this is one I just pulled up a little bit ago. It's a really nice picture. I could actually zoom in on the face and get all those little tiny bumps on the bottom and everything like that. You definitely have your lights and you have your darks below. Um, this would be somewhat of a challenging picture to draw because of what's called foreshortening, where something is way sticking out in front of us and then it gets smaller as it goes back. Definitely not a bad picture. So if you do choose that, it would probably be um, somewhat of a challenge. Now, what I would want to do is I would want to find something that kind of takes up the whole picture. So if I type in marine life photography, here's another little trick. If you add the word photography, it's gonna put Google is gonna pull up professional photographs of animals or whatever it is you're researching, um, and the pictures are going to be a lot higher quality. Um, well, I'm trying to find a good example. So here's a seahorse. All right, and if you look, there are some very nice lights. There are some darks. There's a lot of definition. There's some texture. There's a lot of color. So this would be a great example of something that you could choose for a reference. Okay, let me try to find you one more example, and then I will end this video and talk to you a little bit more about if you ever were to take a photograph. So let's see here. Oh, this picture up here. This isn't bad. This is a full picture of a fish. The angle of the fish isn't perfect, but a lot of times if you look below the picture you just clicked on, a lot of times you'll be able to find pictures that are related. And sometimes you can find one that's just a little bit higher quality. So this isn't bad. You have a lot of colors. You have your lights. You have your darks. If I were to be a little bit picky about this one, I would say that the reference isn't quite 100% in focus, which makes it a little bit blurry. Keep in mind, we're looking up animals that, quite frankly, they're just really hard to get a good picture of. Right? Number one, it's hard to get close, and number two, um, the animals are always on the move. So you have to have a really high quality picture. You have to be in the perfect setting, with the perfect amount of light. So this is another example of a really good reference photo. Okay, I would probably like there to be a little bit of a background, but for our sake right here, um, this is a pretty good one. Okay, remember, one thing that you always want to do is you always want to right click it and save your image. Okay, the reason why you want to right click it and save it is because if you start drawing and for some reason you just don't have enough time to finish it, it's going to be very difficult for you to go back and find this exact same picture. So it's easier just to save it to your Google Drive. One little recommendation, and then I'll let you go. In your Google Drive, just to kind of stay organized, I'm a big organization type guy. So one thing that I would do is I would actually create a folder labeled like sketchbook assignments inside your art folder, and then you can put your reference right with those Google Docs that we talked about in the how to upload video, and that's going to keep everything nice and organized so that you never lose it. And I promise, as long as you're organized and you're turning stuff in on time with good effort, you guys are going to do fine in this class. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions at all, feel free to email me.